G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go. This is the second video of the combination of Group 4 at Dragon Trail Seaside. So if you remember last time, well, I binned it basically, is what happened last time. So hopefully this time we can have another couple of good turns here. So now, we talked strategy last time and I quickly decided that it was a one-stop race. So keep that in mind. I'm not going to tell you whether that's correct or incorrect, but we'll just see how we go through the course of this race now. So we're on the warm-ups phase of the start of the race now. We have put ourselves in 4th place with the same qualifying time as last video. So we'll see how far up the grid I can get this time. So we're going to quickly go into the slipstream of this Aston Martin up ahead, 5/10 behind, so we're definitely gaining, as you can see by that gap getting smaller as we begin the race here. So we'll see what chaos ensues up into turn 1, hit the braking point for turn 2 it is, look around the outside of this Aston Martin, not quite going to work, so we just let him in back ahead through turn 3 now, get through there nicely. The Aston Martin actually gets a better run than me through there, but overall we haven't lost too much time to the leader, which is Thomas Opper, in the McGann Trophy, sorry, mind blank there. Look up the inside of this Aston Martin on the exit of turn 6, but it's not quite going to work. We just have a little bit of contact, I think, and we managed to let him back in ahead. Sweep chicane now. Aston Martin touches the gravel on the outside, and we absolutely sail up his inside, and then this Lexus gets the rhythm wrong, and we managed to make our way past him. And you can see that wide line we took through turn 10, so that was to ensure that he wasn't going to go across the apex of turn 10 and smash into the side of me. Take that wide line to hopefully give him a chance to sort of slow down a bit. So first lap has actually gone really well, so we're right on the back of this McGann Trophy by Tom here, we'll just call him Tom I guess. 7/10 behind, so we're actually in slipstream now. So let's see if we can make our way past him. But if you remember in the last race, when I decided it was a one-stop, the best thing to do is sort of save fuel throughout your first stint. So that way, when you do get to your pit stop, you don't have to spend as long stationary in the pit lane because you've saved fuel during your previous run. So if you save 10% of fuel and go into the pit lane with 30%, as opposed to someone going flat out, so let's say someone going flat out has gone 20% of fuel, you've saved 10%, so you're going with 30. The car that has only got 20 will have to sit stationary for as long as it takes to get from 20 to 30, and then from then on it's the same time as you. So they sit and fuel 10% longer than you. And of course the way this game's pit stops work, it changes your tyres and then starts fueling, whereas in real life it starts fueling while you do tyres, but this game doesn't quite do that. So what we're going to do here is, for this few laps, assuming that we're all going to pit on the end of lap 5, well I'm definitely going to pit at the end of lap 5 anyway, we'll see what everyone else does. We're going to stay in this guy's slipstream so we can go into leaner fuel settings. That's why I've got the fuel map down on the bottom right corner. I've got that on instead of the radar, which is normally the best thing to have on when you're racing, but we'll see how we go here. So we're going to stick in this guy's slipstream, go into leaner fuel settings, and hopefully save quite a bit of fuel. Another strategy that people use are lift and coast. So at the end of long straights, people can lift off the power really early before the braking point, and that can save quite a bit of fuel too. So into the braking zone of turn 12, look how much ground we gain up on this guy, but we probably just went in a little bit deep, to be honest. I got to remember we are in slipstream, and I'm probably not taking that into account as much as I should have. Chicane of Death now. Can we get through here? Comprising 4 corners of the lap. We get through there nicely, hop over that curb. I think we did graze that wall, but not too badly. We're still in the slipstream and gaining. So this guy, I can tell he's driving really slowly down the straight, so he's definitely going into leaner fuel settings, but I don't want to pass him, so I'm going to take the opportunity and go into leaner fuel settings myself. So we'll see how we go down the main straight now. As we come out of turn 17 and through the kink of turn 18, let's see, in the slipstream, gaining very quickly. You can see I quickly flick up to fuel map 6. And I'm still gaining as we speak, so this guy's really saving petrol. He's probably short shifting, also in leaner fuel settings, but that gap manages to equalise as we make our way up through turn 2. Hit the apex nicely that time, look at that, on the power nice and early for turn 3, 3rd gear corner that one, and we get out of there nicely. In this guy's slipstream still, we're right on his tail, so this is all very good. So we're 4.3 seconds, or this guy ahead is going to be 4.5 seconds ahead of the guy in third, which is good. So we're pulling away as a pair, which is always good. Don't have to worry about people behind as we take a big look behind there and see that there's absolutely no one we have to worry about. So it's just me and this guy here. Didn't touch the grass that time. He was the last few laps, but he didn't that time, and look how much time he gains out through turn 8 there. So the McGann Trophy, look at all that aero work. You can see it's got massive fenders with air vents coming out the back, a huge wing over the roof of the car. Front is similar as well, big splitter on the front. And look at all that aero work there. Look up the inside through turn 12. Not quite going to work. A little bit of contact as he just turns in. Once again, probably braking a little bit too late. I just flashed my hazards to apologise, because I actually really didn't want to do that, nor go for the move for the lead, especially this early in the race, because I want to keep in his slipstream and just keep saving fuel as we go through the last sort of bottom straight here, which is technically a massive curve, but I don't think it comprises a corner of the lap. As we head up to the second to last corner now. Take a nice wide entry for this one on the power, nice and early on the apex. Feather the throttle a little bit. When you get that perfect, well actually, to get the best time, you never want to feather your throttle halfway through a corner. You want to always get on the power as early as you can, stay on the power throughout the rest of the corner, but not quite going to work that time. Look how slow he is down this straight here. He is saving loads of fuel. So at this point I kind of realised that if we go into the pits on the end of lap 5, he may have saved quite a bit more fuel than me, because I was gaining so much at the start of straights. He was gaining a lot coming through high speed corners, or medium speed corners I guess. I think that's just by virtue of all that aero work on the McGann Trophy there. And it doesn't help, the Subaru feels good, feels planted, but it does feel a little bit big through corners, especially through that second part of that Chicane of Death, turns 15 and 16, definitely feels very bulky through there. So have a look, for example, turn 8 there. You see how much time he gains out, 8 tenths ahead of me, and we were right on his bumper pretty much in the exit of turn 6. You can see we're pretty much out of slipstream range now, but I know he's fuel saving. He's going to go into a lean fuel setting down this hill, and he has done so. We're gaining on him. We're now back into the slipstream as we break down towards turn 12, braking just before that little bit of light that shows on the side of the track there, but we get through here nicely. He's a second ahead, but I know he's going to go into a leaner fuel setting on the straight, so we're definitely going to gain all this time back, and we'll probably gain it back as well if we get a good run through here. Full throttle, just feather it a little bit, and yeah, don't turn in quite early enough for turn 16, and we just hit the wall on the way out. But like I said, he's going to go into a lean fuel setting. We're going to gain on him again as we are down this straight already, so you can see how quickly we start gaining, braking just before the 100 metre board because we made a mistake on the exit of that chicane there. When you don't make a mistake on the exit of the chicane, you probably want to brake at about 125 metres, because if you're going quicker, so you'll end up going very deep. Here we go, main straight now, back in his slipstream, 7 tenths behind. This is lap 5, so this is my end lap now. We'll see what this guy does. You see someone behind actually goes in on the end of lap 4, so he's getting an undercut. See if that works out for him. Of course, undercut probably isn't quite as valid because it's a 50-50 split between length of stints. So an undercut means you do a stint of 4 laps and a stint of 6 laps. So by the end of that 6th lap on the final stint, you have very worn tyres, and it probably counters the gain you make on the fresh tyres through lap 5. So you see through the top hairpin, he went a little bit deep and wide through the apex, so we managed to keep a nice gap to here. So let's have a look through here, 3 tenths behind we were, and then through there he gains out up to 7 tenths. So I can tell he's very strong through this sweeper chicane here, which is okay because I'm stronger down the straights as the race is going right now. We're still 8 tenths behind, but through the course of the last few laps, have a look at the gap to the guy in third, 1.2 seconds. So as a pair, we've started to slow down, and the guy in third has caught up. He's pretty much as close to me as I am to this guy in first. So he's going to start feeling the effects of slipstream shortly, especially if I make a mistake through this chicane here. Let's see if we can get it nicely this time. Don't touch the wall on the way out. We do touch the wall on the way out, unfortunately, but we're in the slipstream of Tom still, so we're not going to quite lose as much time as we would if we weren't, because the slipstream assists with acceleration there. So take a nice line through turn 17 on the power, and then we're going to bring it over to the right hand side. Does he follow me in? No, he doesn't. He stays out. Tom stays ahead in the pit stop. So we go in, fresh set of hard tyres. We went in with 31% of fuel. So keep that in mind. We'll watch a couple of other people come in, probably. It is halfway through the race. I'm sure someone else will come in. See, my pit crew changes the tyres with gusto there. Guy in 11th comes in with 27. Guy in 9th comes in with 25% of fuel. I refuel just way past the diamond. Do not want to have to worry about fuel later in the race. We've rejoined the track. It'll be 13th as we come out behind this Honda here. So that actually wasn't a good stop. I didn't probably save as much fuel as I could have. I don't think I was short shifting. I was probably short shifting a little bit, but not probably quite as much as Tom up in the lead. So have a look up on the map now in the top right corner. So the two cars are entering the sweeping chicane now. That's Tom and the guy in second. I'm faster. Nice. So let's have a look at that gap there. It's actually extended out as they've gone through that sweeper chicane there. So I'm faster. Probably once again isn't as strong through that chicane. So I think it's down to the driver through this chicane here. So Tom is very strong through the chicane. So that definitely helps in his case. So look up ahead, a couple of cars off the road. We're going to get the slipstream of this Mercedes SLS, I think it is, coming down to the bottom hairpin. So I've got to make sure we're going to brake a little bit earlier. So there's the light on the road. We probably brake a little bit late, go in very hot, early apex, rotate the car late, and then we managed to get a good line out actually. So we get that move up into 12th. Honda is looking up the inside of the Lamborghini up ahead on the exit of the on the entry to the Chicane of Death. Never a good idea. Lamborghini just backs out sensibly. It's definitely better to just back out of a move on the exit of that chicane there. Honda bins it into the wall on the exit, and we both make up a position into 11th. I'm faster in P2. Goes into the pit lane with 15%. Okonyan in third goes in with 22% of fuel. So I'm fast has been going quite hard on fuel, 15%. So he's gone in with like half as much as I did a lap earlier. So yeah, he's been going quite hard on fuel. So we're up into 7th at this point. I'm fast to exit the pits with 59% of fuel. Yes, he does drop in behind me. So we'll have a look at that gap behind and see if we've actually made a gain at all up into turn 2. He's 9/10 behind. Get through turn 2, probably a little bit, not quite, a little bit roughly, I guess. He's about a second, 1.2 second, 1.3 seconds behind. So he's probably, the gaps probably remain fairly constant. So we skip ahead a little bit onto the bottom hairpin, turn 12, as on the exit of turn 12. We're going to come into this Death Chicane, Death Chicane or Chicane of Death, whatever you want to call it. I'm faster, still about 8/10 behind. Definitely going to feel the effects of slipstream, which probably isn't necessarily always a good thing through this chicane there. Oh my goodness, have a look at the car there. Absolutely clatter over those curbs. My goodness, that was a very rough ride through there. Fuel map 6. Because if you have a look, in the bottom right corner, laps remaining, well, it's just clicked over to 2.0 there, and we're not quite at the line for 2 laps yet, so we definitely do have to save a little bit more fuel. And you remember we actually overfueled during that pit stop there, but we're in the slipstream of this other Subaru, which definitely assists with fuel saving a bit. But you can see this Lamborghini behind has actually selected the correct username, I'm faster, because he's definitely faster there, clearly way over fueling, and is definitely able to open the taps on the straight there, nearly around the outside through turn 2, but that means you get a poor line through turn 3 and onto the straight. I'm faster way out onto that curb. The Subaru looks up the inside, but isn't quite able to get that momentum up, probably thanks to fuel saving also. So let's have a look at the chaos that happens through here. A little bit of a bump onto the Subaru, just bumping wide, and, well, rather dirtily I make my way through. But I felt as though he did brake a little bit early, but let's gloss over that. Let's not worry about that. Up into 7th, rather dirtily, I guess, but we'll keep going anyway. Lamborghini probably goes through a little bit hot on turn 8. You have a look how narrow he is for turn 10, and that probably doesn't quite get him the best run out onto this bit of a straight here. Turn 11 here, this little left kink there. Now down the hill towards the turn 12 hairpin. Braking, we just brake on the start of the curb for that one, and it sets us into the corner nicely. Have a look at that rotation on the power, nice and early. Very curved exit here, so the track comes to you instead of you going to the outside of the track. Chicane of Death now, let's have a look. Can we get through here nicely? Let's have a look as we clatter over these curbs again. A little bit of a lift. Just hit the wall a little bit hard that time. But if you have a look at the gap on the top now, Thomas Oper has actually stayed out. So he is doing a no-stop, which I figure was kind of possible, I guess, now that I have to think about it. But let's have a look. Coming up to the end of the race now, behind this Honda, we've got 1% of fuel to go and probably a little bit more than just 1% worth of fuel to go. Fuel map 6 to try and get past. He takes a wide line through here. I'm on the power way earlier than him, but he's in the middle of the track. There's just nowhere for me to go to be able to get past him, but he was probably going to get the overspeed down the straight anyway. Let's have a look. This Lexus up ahead has actually run out of fuel. Do we manage to get past? I think we do. Up into 5th. Have a look at that gap. It'll be 20. He had a 2-second penalty added on, so his actual time is 23.525. Mine was 23.594. No, he would have beat me actually if it wasn't for that penalty. So thank goodness for that penalty. Not that I should be worried about that anyway, because the penalty means I would have beat him anyway. But it's all good. So we did actually manage to finish 5th that time. Remember, we were down in like 7, or no, we came out in 13th. Yeah, that's right. Came out of the pits in 13th, made our way back up to 5th. So it could have been worse, could have been better. I thought we could have kept with the guy up in 1st, but I don't think I was quite able to do that. Didn't quite realise he was going for a no-stop until about lap 6, where he went around for the pits. Went around past the pits for that time there. But let's have a look. Same qualifying time, 46.311, and we're in 4th, and we have decided to choose the McGann Trophy. If you remember last time around, we also started 4th and managed to make our way up to the back of Thomas, also in the McGann Trophy, by the end of the first lap. So hopefully that does require a bit of luck, but hopefully we can get that done again, and then it's just a straight battle of fuel saving between the two of us, and hopefully go for the victory. So we'll warm up to the line now. Fuel map 6 while we warm up to the line, because that does use fuel, and by the time the race has started, you've already saved a little bit of fuel. You see we're down on 98% now, but I think the best thing to do is probably not fuel save quite as hard as you need to for the first lap. Have a look up ahead, they're right on the left-hand side of the track, way defensive. Lamborghini looks around the outside of Tom there, and someone goes up my inside and just shoves me onto the infield of turn 3, and yeah, someone actually goes into the back of me and gives me a good speed boost. So that was that guy, Hyde. Just lobbed it up the inside. I've got a couple of cars up the inside now, receive another little bump, and I'm way out onto the gravel before turn 6. That is not good at all. And I actually get reset way back before the corner. Oh my goodness. And thanks to that, I find myself down in 20th position. So thank you, field, for being a complete load of idiots. Absolute pack of twats, literally. It's just so hard to come out of that situation unscathed on the first lap. So that's not good. That's kind of ruined it for me. So I'm probably not going to be able to get back up to at least Tom now, as he's actually dropped out of the top 3. You can see up on the leaderboard on the top left of the screen there. See first place, two Australians in 1st and 2nd, and then Hyde up in 3rd. Thank you very much for that. That probably all kicked off for me at turn 2 when I was lobbed off the side of the track by Hyde. But now that we're in last, we're going to forget about the rest of the field and just focus on fuel. So we've got to try and make 6.7 laps worth of fuel last for whatever it is, 9.2 it would be at the moment. So there's going to be a lot of fuel saving here. We're going to slow down the straights, short shift. We're going to short shift and hopefully get back the deficit we got at the moment. So we start with 100 or 99% of fuel technically, but the 0% counts as 1%, if that makes sense. So when it hits 0, you've sort of go 0.9, 0.8, 0.7 before you hit 0.0, which isn't shown in the percentage. But anyway, so we do have 100, so we can afford to use 10% of fuel a lap on average. So we've actually used 15% on lap 1, which makes sense, but that means we do have to save, or ideally use about 9% of fuel a lap, which is very hard to do. But these fuel maps are really good at saving fuel. They're also really good at giving you a power disadvantage, but we'll work with what we've got. Now, the one thing I will say, I've gone for the McGann Trophy, and I also didn't have any practice in this car, so I'm not sure how far off the pace or how far off my pace it is, but I'm sure, well, we won't see actually because of fuel saving, but I was going to say we'll see as the race goes on, have a look at my lap times, but I'm fuel saving, so ignore the lap times. It's not a true representation. But I figure when you've got these fuel saving races, you're not driving the car at 100%, and when you're driving a car at 100%, its advantages and disadvantages really come to the surface. You can really understand where a car is strong or where a car is weak. But when you're driving at not quite 100%, every car can keep an even playing field. So it's actually very good for these fuel saving races. You can have a I don't know what's good. If you don't know what's good in Group 4, I guess the Veyron's quick in the line. You can if you can have a Veyron be equally as paced as this Megane Trophy, which is one of the weakest cars in the straight line. Very good through corners actually, and I will say this race was done immediately after the previous race in that Subaru, and I will say through that Chicane of Death, especially the second part, turns 15 and 16, way easier to control through there. The Subaru, it felt so bulky through there, and I feel like I was on edge to get the car through there, even at the best of times. But in this Megane Trophy, it's smaller, and it steers really easy, really planted, so I feel like I can really get through there. Start of lap 5, or end of lap 4, a few people go into the pits, and I did actually slip down into the last position because I was fuel saving, the guy in last wasn't, so he was able to go at full chat, as they say. So we managed to pass the pits, make up a few positions there into 16th. On the end of lap 5, leaders in, second place is in, 17 and 18% of fuel respectively. Third place is in with 26% of fuel. So he's actually done a good job at fuel saving. So let's see, will they get the jump in the pits? Or I probably won't see because the leaderboard is chopped in half. But it's all good. So Tom has actually made his way up into second by virtue of avoiding the pit. So he's going for his no stop again. But obviously it's not me and him fighting for it because I'm down in 15th. I'm fighting not to come last. So let's go through the pits now, have a look ahead. I'm up into 8th, so I've passed a few people in the pit lane. The gap equalises to 10th, and the guy in 9th is about 3 seconds up the road. Lexus comes screaming from behind, that's alright. So that's the kind of thing. So I did drop down into last place. That's sort of thanks to being on the bad end of a punt at around this part of the track on lap 2 or lap 1. So yeah, that definitely lost me a lot of time to the field. So once I sort of bin it, a good goal is to get back up into the top 10. Like when you bin it way down into like 16th, 17th, 18th, top 10 is normally a good place to aim. So that's what I'm doing here. So the guy in 10th is actually ahead of me, but we're only on lap 6. I do have a feeling I'm going to have a few people come in on the end of lap 6, so let's hope that that's the case and I manage to get a few more positions. So I'm in 11th as it stands. Someone's off the track. The Aston Martin is off the track on the exit of the sweeper chicane, and we managed to make up that position into 10th. A little bit further around the lap, let's have a look. Do we pass people in the pit lane? Yes, there's someone gone in from 8th position up into 9th. We're behind this Toyota 86 in the slipstream, so that definitely assists with the fuel saving. So we've got 4 laps to go, 7, 8, 9, 10, and if you have a look down in the percentage, we have 40% of fuel. So we've definitely done a good job at trying to make up that little bit of a deficit we had in terms of amount of percentage available per lap in order to make it to the end. But it's all good. So fuel map 3 through the first chicane there. We actually get a bit of overspeed on this Toyota 86, managed to slip up the inside just before turn 5. So we go through turn 5 now, hop over that curb and then hit the braking point for turn 6. He looks around the outside but isn't quite able to get the job done as I just park it on the apex. That was of course looking at the radar that I flicked on in the bottom right of the screen. Of course I'll flick back to fuel map now. So let's we actually skip ahead to the start of lap 8. Lose position to that Nissan, lose another position to the Toyota 86. So of course this is all people that have pitted compared to me, who I'm still fuel saving as much from the start. Another Aston Martin goes there. Another, what's that, Jaguar slips up the inside through the sweeper chicane, run way deep into this bottom hairpin trying to defend, and the Toyota 86 from before gets a cut back on me, and we lose that position again through the sweeper chicane, or death chicane, sorry. Just get a little bit out of shape through there. So this is the most worn my tyres have been. Subaru makes his way past. Chicane of Death for the final time. We have a Formula 1 liveried Mercedes SLS makes his way through the Chicane of Death. So that just goes to show how slow I'm really going, because the Chicane of Death really isn't normally an overtaking opportunity whatsoever. But Toyota 86 has run out of fuel way early, so that's good for us. 1% of fuel to make from here to the end. We've got one corner to go. Look at all that understeer. Oh my goodness. Very worn tyres at this point in the race. 0% of fuel. Up behind the SLS, just pulling away, and that's it. End of the race there. Bring it home in 14th. So not a good race, but we were about 20 seconds off by the end of lap 1 by virtue of losing all that time. So we're really only 13 seconds off the leader in terms of outright pace for fuel saving. So, of course, we had Tom. He won again, so he's managing to make this no-stop work very well, but I unfortunately wasn't able to execute it quite as well as he could. And, you know, I had a good result previously, or good result, as in I raced as well as I thought I could, bring it home in 5th, but that no-stop kind of finished up that combination for me. And I know I normally like to leave the video on a high, but that's all the footage I had, because that's all the races I did. So I hope you enjoyed the few races around Dragon Trail Seaside. That's the introduction to the Chicane of Death, one of the most notorious complexes of corners in the entirety of Gran Turismo sport. Of course, it's a fictional track, so they could make that as complex as they could like. As they liked. So, that's it. That's where I'm going to leave the video today. Do hit that like button to let me know you enjoyed, and do subscribe if you'd like to see amazing videos like this in your subscription box every week. But that is the end of the video today, and that means that is it from me. So once again, I do thank you very much for watching. See you later.